Hello everybody, Clayton here at etrailer.com. Here at etrailer, we install, test, and review a lot of different products to help you as a customer make a more educated decision before you purchase. Today, we're going to be working on a 2019 Chevy Spark. We're going to be taking a look at, and I'll be showing you how to install the Roadmaster Smart Diode wiring kit. Our kit is going to include a coiled umbilical cord, and this is going to work for most applications, but if you do have a tow bar like this with the channels for a straight wire, you can find a straight wire here at etrailer.com. And this is what our straight cable is going to look like installed. We'll just run that through the channel, then add our wires to our plug end, and those are all going to be labeled, so it's going to be super simple. You're just going to do that with a Phillips head screwdriver. And our diodes are going to allow us to get all of our necessary lighting functions from our motorhome back to our towed vehicle. That being our left turn, our right turn, our taillight signal, and our brake light signal. The components of our flat towing setup consist of our tow bar. This is going to connect our motorhome to the base plate on our towed vehicle. We're also going to have our base plate, and this is going to connect the tow bar to the vehicle. This attaches to the frame, giving you a good strong connection. We're also going to have our diode wiring. This is going to give us all those necessary lighting functions that we need to travel safely. We're going to have our supplemental braking system. This is going to be required by law in most states, but this is just going to apply the brakes in our towed vehicle to bring the whole unit as a whole to a safe stop. We're also going to have our safety cables. We're going to have our brake light switch and our battery disconnect. Our diodes are going to keep everything encased in our stock taillight housing. Personally, this is my favorite option. I really like how clean it looks. It looks a lot better than having magnets and a whole bunch of wires running on the outside of your vehicle. You're not going to risk damaging your paint. And you might be worried about the diodes ruining your vehicle's stock wiring, but you're not going to have to worry about that because our diodes do prevent backfeed, so it's going to keep everything nice and protected. And one thing I like about it is whenever we're not flat towing, the only visible part of our diode wiring is going to be this 6-pole plug on the front. Whenever you're ready to flat tow, lift up your dust cover and put your plug in from your umbilical cord. And there are going to be a couple different kinds of diodes out there on the market. You're going to have your standard diodes, and then you're going to have your smart diodes. And you might be wondering what the difference is. And simply put, the smart diodes are going to be for variable voltage. And the best way to know this is going to be to pop your taillight housing off and look at your wires. If you have two going into that taillight bulb, you're going to know that you need the smart diodes. And as far as installing our diodes, it's really not too bad at all. We're just going to be splicing into our wiring, and we're going to have to run wires from the front of our vehicle to the back. So it's not bad at all. And like I said, the diodes really are my favorite way to go. I like how the car just looks normal every day, but when you're ready to flat tow, just hook it up and hit the road. So we've kind of touched on everything with our diodes, so we can take the car in the shop now and show you how to get them installed. To start our installation, we're going to be tiring our wiring off here on the front, and we're going to be running it from front to back. I'll go ahead and do it, then we'll show you the route we took. So I tied our wiring off here. Our wire comes down underneath of our panel, and I zip tied it to our wiring for our temperature sensor. Then it comes up this way behind our base plate and our bumper. Comes up here, then behind our core support. And I zip tied off a loop because we have to connect this to our braking system. Then the wire goes behind our battery, back down this way, and down the firewall. There's going to be an opening here behind your engine. Our wire comes down right back there. I zip tied it to some lines. Then it comes down. I wrapped it through the subframe and around and brought it out down here. You want to make sure you stay away from anything hot or moving. There's actually going to be a channel. You can just push the wire down the channel. So that wire is going to come all the way down this channel. So it comes out of our channel right here. And I just zip tied it up to our parking brake. There is enough clearance with our exhaust to not have to worry. So then I just zip tied it to our parking brake and then up this way. Then it comes up and I zip tied it to some more factory lines. Then I just pushed it through our heat shield up here above our muffler. You can flex it down, or if you want, there's two 10mm screws on the ends that you can remove just to give you a little bit more room. So I push that through there, and then it comes out of our heat shield right here. And we want to separate our wires. We're going to be pulling our white wire, our brown wire, and our yellow wire off for now. We're just going to pull this all the way back to where it goes up to the heat shield. To remove our tail lamp assembly, we're going to have two Phillips head screws on the side of our taillight. We'll get those removed. Then we're going to feed a trim panel tool behind that edge. Just kind of pry out on it. Releasing our clips. When you get your tail lamp pulled out, You're going to have to disconnect the bulbs. Just give that about a quarter turn, and then it should come right out. We're going to be using the top bulb. The middle is going to be for our turn signals, and the bottom is going to be for our reverse. We are going to need to add a butt connector with another brown wire to use as a jumper wire for our taillight signal to run to the passenger side. So I'm just going to cut this here. And we're going to strip this end back. With that strip back, we're going to double this side over and add it to our yellow heat shrink butt connector. You can find these here at etrailer. We'll crimp that down. Then we're going to take our remaining brown wire. We're going to strip that back pretty far. And then we did have to find another brown wire. We're going to strip this back as well. And then with both of those stripped back, we're going to wrap them together. We'll add that to the other side of our butt connector. Now we just want to come back and heat shrink it. Now we're just going to add some electrical tape to our butt connector to help ensure a good connection. You can find this electrical tape here at etrailer. Then we're going to be running our new brown wire over to the passenger side with our green wire. And we do have enough clearance that we don't need to pull wire. We're just going to reach our hand behind here and feed our wiring up through our rear bumper. Then we'll just grab that. We're going to be feeding up the brown and yellow wire. We'll get that pulled tight. Now we're ready to make our connections. Now we're just going to cut back our brown and our yellow wire. We're going to strip back both of these ends. With our wires stripped back, we can now grab 2 of our spade terminals. We're just going to crimp these on. We're going to be plugging our yellow wire into the RV brake on our diode. We'll be plugging our brown wire into the RV tail. We're now ready to splice into our vehicle's wiring. We are going to be using the red wire that goes to our top bulb. We're just going to cut that close to the middle. And we're going to be stripping back both ends. This side that goes to our bulb is going to be getting our spade connector. We're going to grab our diode, and that's going to go to car brake out. The other side of our wire is going to go to car brake in on our diode. We're going to have one more terminal on our spade connector. We want to grab one of our provided ground wires. We're going to strip that back. One end is going to get a ring terminal, and the other end is going to get a spade connector. We want to add that other spade connector to our diode. Now we're ready to mount our ground. We now want to grab our provided self-tapping screw and mount our ground wire. You don't want to over-tighten it. We want to make sure that that ground is nice and snug. We're now going to remove the protective coating off of our 2-sided tape. We're just going to stick that right there. It's a good idea to hold it down for a few seconds and make sure that that material fully adheres to the body. And now we want to reinstall our tail lamp assembly in the reverse order we took it apart. And we just want to make sure that we reinstall our Phillips head screws. Now I'm going to be running our white, our brown, and our green wire over to the passenger side. Since our vehicle has a hitch, I just zip tied our wiring to the hitch, but you could always go to the bumper beam. Now we're going to mount our ground wire right here. So we just want to take our wire, kind of measure it out, and then we'll cut it back and strip it. So we put our ring terminal on there, and we just want to grab one of our provided self-tappers. We were going to mount our ground right here, but it is hardened steel, so it's going to be really hard to get that self-tapper into. So we just went to the side of the body right here instead. We're now going to remove our passenger side taillight the same way that we did over on the driver's side. We're going to do our connection on the passenger side is going to be the exact same as it was over on the driver's side. Then we're ready to reinstall everything in the reverse order we took it apart. Now we want to strip back the beginning of our wires. We went ahead and slid our boot over that already. Then we want to grab our 6-pole and it's all going to be labeled here on the outside of our terminals, which function goes where. So we'll go ahead and hook that up. With our 6-pole now plugged in, we can test everything out. Now with our alternate power source hooked up, we can get everything tested. We're going to start with our taillights, then we'll do our left turn, our brake lights, and our right turn. As far as installing our taillight wiring and our diodes, we're fully done there, but now I'm going to install the rest of our flat tone components, and we'll pick up with you here in a little bit. With our fascia completely reinstalled, we're now ready to tidy up our wiring. We're going to put all of our wires back into the correct terminals. I just like adding silicone to this to keep it from corroding. So then we'll grab our boot, we'll slide that down over our plug, and we'll wipe off that excess silicone. You want to make sure to come back with electrical tape and just wrap that around. We can now grab our provided self-tapping screws and just get this mounted to our arms. With our car hooked up to our motorhome and everything working properly, we know we're ready to hit the road. That's going to do it for our look at and our installation of Roadmaster's Smart Diode Wiring Kit on our 2019 Chevy Spark.